Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm very glad that you found me. I am sharing a pantry cooking challenge today. These are really popular on my channel. This is where I take a look around my kitchen and I look for things that need to be used up. Open packages of things, half-used packages of things, produce that is near or at its peak, perishable items in my refrigerator that might be close to going bad, items that have been living in my freezer for far too long. I do my best to use up those items, making meals and snacks for my family, and we delay going to the grocery store by a few days, which in turn saves us money. If you like this kind of content and you are looking for more of it, be sure that you are subscribed because I post a pantry cooking video usually at least once a month. But also check out the description box because I have a playlist with several of these same kinds of videos. Plus, I put out a pantry cooking ebook that includes 20 recipes for my pantry cooking challenges from 2021. So let's see what I can use up and what I can make with it. I have had this pound of beef stew meat in my freezer for a little while, so I defrosted it. And I also have about half of this container of sour cream, so I think I'm going to make sort of a Stroganoff style dish for dinner tonight. So in addition to these ingredients, I will be using a cup of beef broth, half a cup of milk, 3 tablespoons of flour, half a teaspoon each of garlic powder, onion powder, and salt to season it. And then there's about half a cup of sour cream in here, which I will add at the end. So let me show you how I'm gonna make this. I know that traditionally a lot of people will eat stroganoff over noodles, but we're gonna have it over rice tonight because I have a little bit of rice already cooked that's left over from having chili a few nights ago. And I have a little bit of this bag of rice. There's probably about half a cup, maybe 3/4 of a cup of rice in this bag. So I'll cook that up as well so that we can have this over rice. I have my meat browning here over medium-low heat in just a little bit of olive oil. And I'm giving that a little bit of a head start before I add everything else. So I think it's sufficiently browned now. So what I'm gonna do is just sprinkle in my flour and kind of toss that together. And now I'm adding my seasonings and my broth base and my water to make the beef broth, my milk, and I think I'm gonna toss in just a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. I didn't mention this at the beginning. I just forgot to get it out of the refrigerator, but about a tablespoon of Worcestershire. Give that a little stir. I'm gonna bring that up to a simmer and then cover it and let it simmer on low until the meat is done cooking and until it's nice and tender. So I found these Reams noodles in my freezer. There's just a handful of them in there, like maybe 1 serving or so of those left. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those in here. The meat and the sauce is basically done. I'm just gonna go ahead and put these noodles in here and let them cook in there as well, which I guess seems a little unorthodox, but beef and noodles I serve over mashed potatoes. So just putting a handful of noodles in here to use them up for the stroganoff that we're gonna eat over the rice. I don't think that that's too odd. And it helps me use these up too, and it'll help stretch the sauce just a little bit more. So I'm gonna let those cook up, and then I'm going to stir in the sour cream, and then it will be ready to serve. Okay, here it is. And confession, I left the pot a little too high. I left it cooking just a little bit too high and I scalded it. However, I was able to rescue most of it. Hopefully my Dutch oven will survive. I'm gonna have a little bit of gentle scrubbing to do on that, but I was able to rescue most of the stroganoff. That sometimes happens whenever you're working with dairy, and I just left it on a little bit too high. It was on like medium low and I walked away from it for too long and the bottom of it scalded. Like I said, I was able to save most of it and I've already tasted it, and what I was able to save is really delicious. So we're still gonna eat it and it's still gonna be good, and we still have used up a few things from my kitchen. I know you guys would want to know that my Dutch oven lives to cook another day. Hallelujah. I was able to scrub it clean and was able to get the burnt food off of it without damaging the pot, so hooray. You know what? I say all the time that I am just a standard issue mom, and I still burn stuff from time to time. Sometimes I burn dinner, y'all. It happens. But everybody was able to eat dinner, the dinner that I made, except me. So the burnt portion ended up being mine because I fed everybody else and I ended up eating leftovers from the refrigerator, which was fine. But it was really, really delicious because I tried to bite at the kids and I was very sad that I didn't get any. My husband used to eat these flavored oatmeal packets for breakfast almost every single morning. He hasn't done that as much lately, so these have been sitting in my pantry for a while, and I wanted to figure out a way to use them up, and a quick Pinterest perusal showed me several different ways that you can make cookies from them, so that's what I am doing here. I have 6 packets of flavored oatmeal. I'm using the maple and brown sugar, 1 stick of butter, 1 egg, a 1/4 cup of white sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and 1 cup of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 to 2 tablespoons of milk. This cookie recipe starts out the way a lot of cookie recipes start out, and that is by creaming the butter and the sugar. But what you didn't see me do, because for some reason I lost that clip, is add the egg and the 2 tablespoons of milk that I used. So that's in there as well at this point. And then I'm adding my 6 packets of oatmeal and my flour, and I'm going to stir that until it is combined. I did this mostly by hand. I think it kind of makes a mess whenever you try to use the blender whenever you're working with flour, and it really wasn't that hard to mix up. So then I dropped this onto a cookie sheet, which I had lined with parchment. My oven has been preheating at 350 degrees, and I used my mid-sized cookie scoop. It's probably about a 1/4 cup of dough per cookie, and I baked these at 350 until they were done, which for me was about 12 minutes. And these made delicious cookies. It made about 1.5 dozen cookies. I stored them in an airtight container, but they did not last long. The kids ate them. My husband liked them. I liked them. I will definitely be making these again. Plus, I'm already thinking about all the different flavors I can make depending on the kinds of oatmeal packets that I use. I just put something into the crock pot for dinner tonight, and it is a recipe from my friend Carrie and her sister Christina's website, Lazy Day Cooking Club. You guys have heard me talk about that multiple times. It is a subscription membership service where they drop new recipes into their member dashboards every month that are designed specifically for the crock pot and for freezer prep. So I'll leave a link in the description box below that will give you 50% off of your first month with them if you're interested. But this is for a crock pot Parmesan chicken and Orzo dish, and it just so happens that I have like half a box of Orzo open in my pantry that I would like to use up. Into my crock pot, I have put 1/2 pound of chicken breast, 1/2 an onion chopped, some butter, some seasonings, including Italian seasoning, salt, and pepper. And then I also added 2 cups of chicken broth, which I basically made from broth base. And I'm cooking that on high. And once that's done in about 3 to 4 hours or so, I will come back and add the Orzo in, and I'll show you how we're finishing this up. Okay, my chicken is done. It has been cooking in here for about 3.5 hours. So now I'm just going to stir in 1.5 cups of Orzo. Just gonna make sure that that's submerged. And I'm gonna pop the lid back on, and it's gonna take it about 30 more minutes or so for the pasta to cook. Okay, the pasta is done, as you can see here. I'm just stirring it. You got the chicken in there as well. Cooked up nicely, and it calls for stirring in 1/2 cup of Parmesan, but what I'm going to use is this here. It is a shredded cheese that is very similar to a Parmesan that came in my Imperfect box, and it's about half used, so I'd like to go ahead and use that up. So that's what I'm going to put in there today, and just stir that around, and then it's basically going to be ready. Yay! Full disclosure, you guys, I'm kind of phoning it in just a little bit on dinner tonight. My son has seen these in the refrigerator. I got them out of the freezer to defrost, and he's been asking me for a couple of days if we can have these smoked sausages. So I thought I would slice those up, and I still have a few smoked sausages from the leftovers my husband brought home. And then I have these peppers too that need to be used. So I thought I'd just throw all that in a skillet, you know, and just kind of maybe season the peppers with a little salt and pepper, but throw that in a skillet for a few minutes with a little bit of olive oil or something. And for the kids, I'm just going to make a box of macaroni and cheese to go along with that. But in perusing the freezer, I found this out in my chest freezer, and it's been in there for a few months. So I thought that I would make this up for my husband and myself to have along with this. So we're just going to kind of like use up some odds and ends. It's kind of a hodgepodge dinner, but it'll be fine. Good morning, everybody. At least it's morning where I am. I don't know if it's morning where you are, but it's morning here. And here's the situation. They have closed my youngest 2 children's school. They are sort of systematically shutting down schools in our district because they're having staffing issues. They have lots of staff who are out sick, so they are not able to staff the entire district. So they're kind of rotating which schools are shut down and then, you know, distributing the staff that they have across the district, which I can appreciate. And we've all got to be flexible during these times. So good morning. Brick has been asking for Brenner for breakfast for dinner, specifically scrambled eggs. That's like one of his favorite foods right now. So I said, why wait for dinner? We're home for school for a week. So why don't we just have breakfast for breakfast? So I thought I would whip up some breakfast burritos. I've actually already made Brick and McKenna their breakfast burritos because they just wanted eggs and cheese and a tortilla, which is fine. I have a couple of packages of tortillas that are open that I like to use up. And I also have some meat that my husband brought home from a staff lunch. They usually have lunch when they have their monthly staff meetings, and they had it catered catered by a barbecue place, so he brought home the leftover barbecue. So I thought that I would try to make up some breakfast burritos that I can keep in the fridge or the freezer for the next few days with all of that stuff combined. I also thought it would be really nice to have some potatoes because I think I really want to do these breakfast burritos that are like a grilled breakfast burrito, you know, where you put it on the tortilla and then you throw it on the griddle and it makes the tortilla kind of crispy. But I didn't have any potatoes and I didn't have any hash browns. But what I did have hanging out in my pantry was a box of these, you know, boxed potatoes. I don't know what this is from. We don't really eat these very often. I'm guessing this was a video idea, just an occupational hazard when you are a YouTuber who makes meals. But sometimes stuff ends up in our kitchens or in our pantry that is there and we don't remember why. So what I did was just make these up according to the package directions for the microwave. They've been sitting kind of cooling down on the counter, and I think I'm gonna try to incorporate these into these breakfast burritos, these grilled breakfast burritos that I'm making from all of this hodgepodge stuff in my kitchen. So we'll see how it turns out. To make the filling for the burritos, I heated up some of the leftover meat in a skillet. I wanted it to render some of the fat from the meat so that I could cook the eggs in that. I whisked about 5 eggs or so, and then I put that into the pan with the meat and I just stirred it around until the eggs were scrambled and cooked through. To assemble the burritos, I started by putting some of the cheesy potatoes onto the tortilla, and then I topped that with a little bit of the meat and egg mixture. I thought about using some shredded cheese here. I decided against it because I felt like the potatoes were already cheese flavored, so I didn't need the extra cheese in there. Some fresh tomatoes I think would have been really good with these as well. So I just rolled those up pretty tightly. I was able to make 5 of them with the ingredients that I had on hand. I popped them onto the griddle and sprayed them with a little bit of nonstick cooking spray so that when I flipped them, they would crisp up really nicely, and these were absolutely delicious. And I'm so glad that I popped these onto the griddle because I really think crisping up that tortilla made these even better. In this bag are the containers from just a few of the items that we were able to use up by not going to the grocery store this week and focusing on using up what we already have. So this isn't even everything. This is just the stuff that, you know, made sense to save and wouldn't smell up my kitchen by holding onto it. But these are all empty packages that are going in the recycle bin, but just things that we were able to use up in making meals and snacks and stuff this week, and just kind of using up open packages of things. We were able to use all this stuff up and delay going to the grocery store. Yay. That's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be sure to check in again with another video soon. Bye.